In this video, we will cover grammar for IELTS Academic Writing Task 1 essays. For IELTS Writing Task 1 essays, you are required to describe the detail in a chart, graph, table, map or diagram, most especially to record changes in data. This will involve describing trends, describing increases and decreases, and making comparisons. To do this, you will need to use particular sentence structures, and these are one of the things we'll be learning about in this video. We'll also be looking at common Task 1 verb tenses and other elements of grammar that frequently cause problems. Here's an overview of what we shall cover in this video: verb tenses, key sentence structures, and 2 common grammatical errors. Firstly, let's focus on verb tenses. The choice of which tense to use will be determined by whether or not the graphic contains dates, and if it does, whether the dates are in the past or the future. Follow these guidelines. No date, use the present tense. Dates are in the past, then use the past tense. And if dates are in the future, use the future tense. The tenses you are most likely to need are present tense, present simple, present perfect or present perfect continuous, past tense, which could be past simple, and future tense for future simple or the future perfect. We will now look at some of the explanations of these verb tenses and examples from Task 1 essays. Firstly, let's look at present simple, past simple and future simple. For present simple, it is used for short actions happening now, permanent situations, habits and general truths. For example, over 50% of households worldwide now own a computer. For past simple, it is used for an action, state or habit that began and ended at a specific time in the past. For example, the price of houses dropped by 10% between April 1981 and April 1984. For future simple, it is used to indicate an action or situation that will happen in the future. For example, the percentage of retail products purchased online will increase significantly in the next 2 years. Now let's look at present perfect and future perfect. Present perfect is used for actions and situations that began in the past and continue to the present. There's a suggestion that they are now complete, but they may be unfinished. For example, the number of people owning a computer has risen by at least 5% every year since 2010. Future perfect is used to indicate a future action or event that will be completed by a particular time in the future. For example, the number of women in full-time education in the UK will have reached 1.5 million by 2025. And finally, let's look at present perfect continuous. It is used for actions or situations that started in the past and are continuing in the present. For example, the level of computer ownership has been rising since 2010. Most graphics will require you to compare data from 2 or more time periods, for example, past and present, or present and future predictions. So you will need to use a range of different tenses in your essay as appropriate. Whilst you gain marks for using a good range of tenses in your IELTS Writing Task 1 essay, you should never do so just to show that you know many different tenses. Only use the tense that is 100% correct for expressing a specific piece of information. It is the accuracy that the examiner is looking for. Now let's have a look at the key sentence structures. The first 2 steps of writing a great academic Task 1 essay are: analyze the question and identify the main features. Once you have done this, you'll understand what you're required to write about. It will be one or more of these things: describe trends, describe increases and decreases, and make comparisons. There are specific sentence structures that you can use for each, and these are what we are going to look at next. Let's start with how to describe trends. The most useful grammatical structures for describing trends are noun phrase plus verb plus adverb. For example, the number of unemployed women fell significantly. The next structure you could use is there plus be plus adjective plus in plus a noun phrase. For example, there was a dramatic improvement in the percentage of people in employment. Now let's have a look at how to describe increases and decreases. The 2 most useful grammatical structures for describing increases and decreases are noun phrase plus verb plus adverb. For example, the popularity of social media climbed steadily. The next structure is there plus be plus noun plus in plus noun phrase. For example, There was a fluctuation in university applications. Another example, there is now a swimming pool in the location of the old factory. Now let's look at how to make comparisons. Useful vocabulary for making comparisons include more, most, high, higher, highest, large, larger, largest, less, least, few, fewer, fewest, low, lower, lowest, and small, smaller, smallest. These words can be used to form many different sentence structures useful for making comparisons, such as more or fewer or less plus noun plus than. For example, more teenagers play computer games than sport. Next structure could be most or least plus an adjective. For example, the most common childhood illness in 1979 was chickenpox. The next structure is more or less plus an adjective plus than. For example, cruises were more popular than beach holidays in 2012. The next structure is high or low or few or a version of fewer plus than. For example, a lower number of teenagers play a sport than play computer games. Next structure is high or low or large or small or a version with est. For example, the largest proportion of immigrants came from Mexico. These sentence structures are valuable tools for getting high marks for your writing IELTS Task 1 essay, so practice using them. Finally, let's look at the two common grammatical errors. Two aspects of grammar that could be a particular problem for many of you are prepositions and articles. First, let's have a look at prepositions. There are two specific prepositions that you will probably use numerous times in your Task 1 essay when reporting change, in and off. They are easy to get wrong. Follow this general rule. When stating the specific value of the change, that is a number, an amount, or percentage, use of. And when stating what has changed, use in. For example, an increase of 20%, an increase in the number of over 60s taking exercise classes, a drop of almost a half, a drop in house prices, an improvement of 45 units per week, an improvement in retail sales from April to June. Of is also used after a value. You will probably want to use proportional values in your Task 1 essay. So here are some examples. A small percentage of, just under a quarter of, exactly a half of, roughly 3/4 of, a significant majority of, and a high number of. Another preposition to learn is between, which you will need to make comparisons. For example, the price of houses went into a sharp decline between 1980 and 1985, but increased significantly from 1986 to 1990. Next, let's have a look at articles. Many languages do not have articles, and native speakers of those languages can find it a huge challenge to remember to use them. In English, there are 3 articles, a, an, and the. Each is used in specific instances. Let's look at the first instance with singular and plural nouns. Use the before singular and plural nouns when the noun is a specific thing. For example, the bar graph illustrates how many male and female students were studying full-time and part-time in Britain during the years 1970, 1971, 1980, and 1990. Use a or an before a singular noun or noun phrase when the noun is non-specific and could be any one of a group or type. Use a before a noun or noun phrase beginning with a consonant. Use an before a noun or noun phrase beginning with a vowel. For example, less than 30% of the population took a foreign holiday between 1975 and 1985. There was an upward trend in families taking an annual holiday abroad after 1990. Next, we will look at specific instances for noun combinations. Also, use a or an before adjective singular noun combinations such as these from the preposition list: a small percentage of, an insignificant minority of, a high number of. The key to improving your grammar is to know your weakness and focus on these as you practice. That's all the information you will need to understand grammar for IELTS Academic Writing Task 1 essays. Thanks for watching. Until next time.